What's going on, my precious gems? Thank you for tuning in to Channel 4. I am your host, Frosty Cones, and welcome to our Week 7 battle of the WSS, the World Showdown Series. I'm your coach of the Austin Aggrons, and we are getting into a post-commentary battle against Deebs, or also known as the Orlando Mudkip. And this was a post-com because we were both kind of busy at the time that we were battling. We were actually kind of behind, or at least I was behind on getting my battles in. We were actually breaking the fourth wall. We are week 8, so I gotta get my week 8 battle against my boy CC in the pool Piplups pretty soon. But that is besides the point. We are here today to go ahead and just talk about what has happened in this battle. And I gotta say, this battle was definitely like the most stressful. Like, there's been stressfully planned battles, if that makes sense. Like, the battles were really stressful to plan for. Well, this battle was just very stressful to be a part of, because it was a 60 turn battle. It was like, one more time, 60 turns. That is definitely the longest, I want to say that is the longest battle that the Aggrons have seen in the series. I'm not too sure in the season. I'm not too sure if anyone else has had any longer battles, but this definitely was a great, and it was a fun battle. It was kind of hacksy, but there was hacks on both sides and all of that good stuff. So before we go into this battle, there's 3 things I want you guys to do. First off, show your Austin Aggrons some of that love. Leave a like on the video one good time. You know, share it, all that good stuff. Number 2, don't forget to comment what you thought you would have done differently, what mons you would have brought differently, who you thought was the MVP. I already know who the MVP is, but I'm going to save that towards the end of the battle. But definitely let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And third of all, if you are new to the crew and you want to stay tuned into Channel 4, don't forget to add yourself to the stash of gems by hitting that subscribe button, as well as follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are down in the description below. I'll be linking Deeb's channel in the description as well. And I think with all that being said, we can finally go ahead and get into this battle. So today I brought 2 chains this week, Coon, Talk the Orlando T, Sativa the Gardevoir, Azure Flame Kite the Charizard X, Eddie the Hitmontop, and Crueler the Uxie. And he brought Hitmonlee, Manaphy, Snorlax, Venomoth, Venusaur, and Tentacruel, a very poison heavy team, and that sucked having the Gardevoir, obviously. But there are going to be parts or points in the battle where I'm going to be like slowing down and trying to like catch up, because again, it's such a long battle. I can't like possibly just commentate without taking any kind of a break or without explaining a turn in depth, because, you know, my post-com skills are not that great. So if you guys will bear with me, let's go ahead and get straight into it. So I lead off with my Uxie. He leads off with Polaris, his Manaphy, and he's gonna go for Tail Glow right off the bat, and I'm like, fuck no, this is not happening. I'm gonna go for Thunder Wave. If he wants to go for a Rain Dance, at least that gives us a free turn to find some kind of initiative, and I'm gonna go ahead and get some free damage off. I also wanted to scout out what he wanted to do. I guess he was predicting me to go into the Suicune there with the Energy Ball, but we eat that up pretty nicely. Crueler was max special defense for once. We didn't split up his defenses at all, but we do go for another Psychic. We fire off another Psychic, and he follows up with a Surf, and that actually does quite a bunch of damage. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta keep this guy because I need to get my rocks up. So I decide to switch out, and I forget who I switch out to here. I switch out into Sativa because, you know, Gardevoir is especially defensive. It is kind of bulky. So I figured, you know, we could switch in. Hopefully we get a Para, get a Moonblast off. But he does decide to switch into his Snorlax on the next turn, and I'm like, I want to really ruin this guy's day right off the bat. So I decided to trick my Choice Specs off onto it just to take away any options that he has, and it turns out that he had the Chople Berry, trying to use my own trick against me. But oh, excuse me. He does go for the return. I'm like, holy shit, that does a shit ton of damage. So I'm going to switch out. I believe I go into Eddie here to get the Intimidate drop off. Just to get that Intimidate drop off, because I did want to go ahead and pivot in between both of my Intimidate mons to make this Snorlax more and more useless, and to find some kind of initiative on how to get some damage off on his team, because right now he's just getting free damage off on all of us. Excuse me. So he does go into his Brussels, the Venusaur, and I follow up with a knockoff, and he has a Piappa Berry. I believe that raises special attack when in a pinch, but he does go for the Sleep Powder, and we managed to avoid it, which is awesome. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna switch into 2 chains. I have the Chesto Berry. Hopefully we can get just a free swap in, and he goes for another Sleep Powder. But the man actually decides to go for Synthesis, and I'm like, well, shit. He's obviously not gonna. He must know that I'm Chesto. So I'm gonna switch into Azure Flame, try to set up. And what does this man do? He goes for a Sleep Powder, and it lands. And my Charizard is now asleep. How fortunate is that for me? Not fortunate at all. So I'm like, shit, I gotta figure out something to do. I'm gonna switch out into Toph, assuming that he was gonna go for a Sludge Bomb against my Charizard. It is resisted on the ground typing and everything, but he does get the crit. He does get the poison off. It's like a Serene Grace Venusaur that we're dealing with out here. I do decide to fire off an Earthquake, and things aren't looking too good for Toph right now. We are at 3% health, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this thing. I might as well just go ahead and sack it off. So I do go ahead and I go ahead and shoot off another Earthquake, and he goes into his Shameless, the Snorlax. Toph does die off pretty early, but he got some pretty decent damage off, so I'm not too worried. I decided to go into Eddie to go ahead and get the Intimidate drop off on this Snorlax again, give him kind of a switch initiative, and he goes into Radial, his Venomoth, and I'm not too sure what this thing can do. I did try going for a close combat on the Snorlax, and it ended up being a crit on Venomoth. That was really good. That was actually really awesome. But I didn't know what this thing could do to me, so I decided to switch out into 2 chains just because we are bulky. No matter what Venomoth does, it can definitely get eaten up by a Suicune, without a doubt. So he does go for the U-turn, and he goes into Venusaur here, and he clicks Synthesis, and I was wondering if I should go for Calm Mind, or if I should just fire off the Ice Beam, and I decided to go with the Ice Beam just to see how much damage it was going to do. It did do 46%, which is a pretty decent amount. It does kind of force him to go for Synthesis more often, but he actually switches out, and I decided to go ahead and get a Calm Mind up to get as much damage as possible. He brings out his Glow Stick, the Tentacool, and goes for the knockoff. Knocks off my Chesto Berry. Honestly, Suicune is the best mon to switch into a knockoff, just because Chesto doesn't really, it's not really necessary. Like, Rest is only 2 turns of sleep. Excuse me. So he sets up the rain, and I'm like, yo, this is even better for me. Like, why the hell not? So assuming that he was gonna, I'm actually gonna pause here, because this was actually a really good play. I figured by that 3rd setup of the Calm Minds that he couldn't really do much to me. He's a Tentacruel. Tentacruels are special attackers. Yeah, he did have knockoff, but Tentacruels are generally special attackers. If anything, he probably had Scald. He probably had Sludge Bomb. Even if he had Giga Drain, there was not much that he could have done to me. So I just figured, you know what, we're +3, we're in the rain, maybe we can get a Scald Burn off on anything on his team. I'm just gonna fire off a Scald. So he does switch into Polaris, his Manaphy, and it ends up being a crit, and we calced it mid-battle, and it turns out that crit actually did matter. It was supposed to do like 51% without a crit. So he goes in to stretch his Hitmonlee. This was an amazing play by him. He goes for the Endure, and I fire off a Scald, and it actually pops his red card, so I'm forced to swap out. It brings out Sativa. We do get the Unburden ability, but I really don't want Sativa to take any kind of extra damage, any kind of damage that she doesn't need to take, anything like that. So I do switch out to Eddie, you know, go for the Intimidate drop. Maybe he was going to go for a high jump kick, maybe he was going to go for poison jab or whatever, but he does go for knockoff, and he knocks off my Assault Vest. I don't really need it now that Manaphy is dead. And he does switch out his Hitmonlee into the Venomoth, I guess to save it as Death Fodder for later. I did want to try and get some kind of damage off on the Venomoth, and I felt like Suicune was my only switch into this thing. Even if my Charizard was asleep, I probably could have swapped into that, trying to burn off a couple of sleep turns. But I figured going in Suicune was a good idea, as he does go for the Stun Spore, and I actually get first turn parried, which sucks. And I'm like, well, I need to get any kind of damage off as much as possible. So he does switch out, and I tried to go for a Scald here, but the Paralysis actually kicks in again, and I'm unable to fire off that Scald. So he does go into a return, and it does quite a bit of damage. I fire off the Scald. It doesn't do that much damage to him in return. See what I did there? And I'm like, I need to break through this turn so I can get rest off and heal up. So I do that, and things are great. He switches out into, I believe, his Venusaur, and I'm sorry. This is where things get kind of stally because this Venusaur actually had fucking Power Whip on him. So I'm thinking like, shit, this guy's a split Venusaur. If we can set up Calm Minds, that would be awesome, just to soak up those poison, those sludge bombs. But it just kind of ends up being a war of like, I'm gonna fire off an Ice Beam to put synthesis pressure on him. Like, he has to heal if he wants to survive. And I am gonna go ahead and click rest here because I can't take another Power Whip. And like I said, it's just gonna be very back and forth like this. He's gonna heal, I'm gonna heal, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna shoot an Ice Beam off, he's gonna Power Whip me, all this good stuff. And I'm trying to figure out like, how can I get myself out of this? And it didn't click in my head that I probably could have pressure stalled him. No lie, like I think Power Whip only gets 16 PP, so I could have just stayed in for 8 turns possibly. If the turns ended up falling right and we just kind of kept the pattern the same. But I wanted to go ahead and switch into Eddie to lessen those Power Whips, because those, like, doing 38% is not enough for having like 2 inactive turns. So I switched into Eddie, and I'm like, well, nothing's gonna appreciate an Earthquake. I did carry Earthquake on this thing for all of the poison types, electron types that he had on his draft, and he gets another crit. Eddie's doing the finest in this battle. He got 2 crits in this battle. He did take up a lot of hits. He faced up against a lot of mons, and I figured that the radial was low enough for me to get a Mach Punch in. So I just felt, you know, whatever chip residual damage I could get off, I could get off. He does fire off a Sludge Bomb, and this, like, I was really lucky here because I didn't know if this dude was max speed. If he was max speed, he definitely would have outsped me and killed me the next turn, but I was able to get the Stealth Rocks off. I'm assuming that this was like a bulky physical special split offensive of Venusaur that we were dealing with. And yeah, so I go ahead and get my Stealth Rocks off. I was assuming that he had a Rapid Spinner and Tentacruel, but I just had to get the rocks off to put on some kind of switch pressure and anyway get some chip damage, because if he switches into the Hitmonlee, it's dead. If he switches into the Venomoth, it's dead. But Eddie does die. I go into Azure Flame Kite and Mega Evolve, and I'm like, shit, I need to burn Turn of Sleep right now. And I burn that Turn of Sleep off, and he gets off a Sludge Bomb, and I'm like, damn, that's too much damage. That is too much damage for me to take right now, at least asleep. So I decided to switch back into Eddie one last time. That way we can get the Intimidate drop off, we can go into Suicune, and we can just kind of stall out from there and cause any kind of initiative on his, give him kind of initiative to switch, because he can't just Power Whip me all day now that he's intimidated. So I do switch in 2 chains. He switches into his Stretch to get some chip damage off, and this lets me burn off a Turn of Sleep. I actually do wake up here. I forgot that I was waiting for my Turns of Sleep to end off. So I did think that he was going to go for the Power Whip, honestly. I thought he was going to be a real dude and stay in, so I did go for the rest again. He brings out his Brussels, and things are looking pretty fucking grim right now. He's going for the Sludge Bomb, and I'm just like, I don't know what I need to do. I don't know what to do at fucking all. So I switch into Sativa, kind of using her as death fodder, to be honest. I didn't know what else I could do with this thing. And I'm like, okay, it's time to be real. It's time to be a real fucking man. I'm gonna throw out Azure Flame Kite, and I need to wake up this turn. And I click Roost. Thank fucking God, Azure Flame Kite wakes up, and we're able to get the Roost off, and that just changed the whole momentum of the battle from there. So he does get the Sludge Bomb off. It does heaps of damage, and I'm like, shit, son, like, I need to just go ahead and set up D-Dance and try to bring this game back on my way. So he switches into Radial for some for some death fodder again, and I'm sorry, I went for the Flare Blitz because I figured, you know what, there's no reason for me not to go for Flare Blitz right now. So he goes into Glow Stick, and I'm roosting up, losing my flying typing. I am neutral to a water type moves, and seeing that he did only like 34% damage with a Surf, I'm pretty comfortable like being able to D-dance in his face as he sets up the rain, and that is kind of scary. I did figure that it would not kill at the range that I was at, but I knowing my luck, like I would have gotten hit with a crit, and it would have been over from there. So I'm seeing that he's doing now close to 50% of damage, as I want to be able to be in a spot where I can set up at least one more D-dance and take this Tentacruel out. I even calced it, and I didn't know if this Tentacruel was actually a max defense or max special defense, max HP. I didn't know it's set, so I just did worst case scenario, and here does come that fucking crit I was talking about, and I'm like, shit, well now I have to roost. I have to roost up. So, because like another crit would body me right here and there. So the rain does end, I get another roost off, and I know that he's gonna go for a rain dance, and I'm gonna go for that second D dance right there in that turn, because as I was saying, I calced for I believe it was like 240 HP max defense Tentacruel, and I needed to be at like +4 to kill it with my spread. So he does set up the rain dance, and I get another roost off to heal up, and I'm like, shit, well, I'm gonna go ahead and stall out the rain once again, just to ensure that like if I do try to get off the Dragon Claw and it doesn't kill, he can't possibly kill me with a fucking crit. So we're doing this roost surf deal until finally the rain ends, and I'm like, okay, it's time to unleash the monster that is the Azure Flame Kite, and I go for the Dragon Claw. We take out the Glow Stick, he sends out Shameless, we take out the Shameless too, and then last but not least, he sends out Brussels the Venusaur, and I just Flare Blitz the fuck out of that motherfucker, and excuse my language, but it was hella hype, and that gives us our 2-0 victory, and we actually, I believe, we actually needed that win. We needed this win in order to make it a playoffs, I think, because now we are 5-2 with a differential of 6. So I don't know what everyone else's scores are, but I know that this was kind of a make or break week for us to be able to make it into playoffs, and I think we're going to be able to do it, which is awesome, because this will be the first league that the Austin Aggrons have taken part in, that we have our own draft that we were able to pick ourselves, and we are so close to making it to playoffs, you guys. So again, I want you to do 3 things, you guys. Well, actually 4 things. For the first thing, show some love to Deebs. Check out the video on his side of the channel. Check out his channel. I'll be linking it down in the description below, like I said. Second off, be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, if you enjoyed this battle, if you are loving how the Austin Aggrons are doing in this season of the WSS, the World Showdown Series. Definitely be sure to show us that love, leave a like on the video as well as sharing it with your friends. And number 3, don't forget to comment who you thought was the MVP of this match, and that is definitely for me. I believe that is Azure Flame Kite. Azure Flame Kite came in clutch. She technically is she, but it's supposed to be he. He took crits. He was asleep. He woke up when he needed to, and he was able to get the roost off. And if he didn't wake up when he did, then we would have lost, hands down. We would have been like, what is it, 5-0, 6-0'd? No problem. But it was without a doubt Azure Flame Kite waking up and being able to just take those hits. It was actually a really bulky set that I was running. It's 100 HP, 104 attack, and then max speed at Jolly Nature. I've actually been using this set this whole series, this whole season. I don't know why I keep saying series, but yeah, this whole season I've been using this exact same set, just changing around the moves a little bit, and it's been doing me wonders. It has been doing me absolute wonders, and yeah, I think, oh, right, so I'm sorry. So number 3, yes, go ahead, comment who you thought was the MVP of this battle and what you possibly would have done differently, or, you know, what mons you would have brought differently as well. And fourth, if you are new to the crew, once again, definitely be sure to add yourself to the Stash of Gems by hitting that subscribe button, as well as following me on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, we'll be able to, you know, hang out. You can see more videos by yours truly, and we'll have a really great time. But I think with all of that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here and bounce. So thank you guys for tuning in to Channel 4. I'm your host, Frosty Cones, and I'm signing off. Peace.